Flick Chicks podcast.
Hello, ladies, and greetings and salutations to everyone watching. We're the Harflick Chicks. Thank you for joining our podcast. Angie, Sonia, and Sandra here. We are doing Only Murders in the Building, Season 4, Episode 5, Adaptation.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Let's get into it. Lots happening.
Yes, this episode got me thinking. There's a new suspect on my list. I know that. So we start off, just kind of like we pick up where we left off with Bev, the producer, in the what is it, the trampoline warehouse type.
She's in the cabin or shack where on the property where
They were
Saz's
filming.
trampoline park was gonna be in Paradise, New Jersey.
Yeah, so they're all there. They're wondering what she's doing with a gun. She's like, "This is fake." Boom, boom. It turns out it's
Yeah.
not. At some point she's like explaining what she's doing there. She's just trying to figure this thing out. It has to be, it's such a, it's so exhausting being like an investigator. Um, and like nobody told her to do this. She just wanted to like kind of get this moving because she doesn't want anything to sort of hurt her film, right?
Yeah.
She had lost other opportunities, namely Barbie, apparently, to
Yeah.
produce to produce that. And so she's doing all she can to get this, like, to keep this film rolling. So that
Yeah,
nobody.
the guys ask her flat out, did you kill Saz?
Yeah.
Right. They asked her,
It looks
and she said, "No,
super
I
suspicious
didn't."
there. Yeah.
Yeah. So she said, "No, I didn't kill Saz." And they were like, "Well, you need to tell us explain to us where you were during the murder. So her alibi, hilarious, was that she was at a variety, 100 powerful women under
Under
100.
100.
Under 100. I love that. It was too funny. So she was there all night. She was mingling, trying to get in connection with other folks in the industry. And then so she says, the most likely person had to be somebody where on the set of the movie.
On the movie. That's
Yeah.
part of the movie. Yep.
So this is what we've come to. So now we know that it had to be somebody that was a part of the movie.
And she said, I believe that she said that Saz had called her and told her
Yeah,
Did say
she left her
Saz
message.
told her that night.
there's something going on with the film. There's something wrong here. And that's why she was there trying.
I can't go into more detail.
I can't go into more detail.
Right.
So we start a timeline now because they were like, well, what time was that? That time was at 11:07, which
Mhm.
was just after she had left to go get the wine.
Right.
Right?
When
Yeah,
she
yeah.
went up to Charles's apartment to
And
get
it
the
makes you
wine.
and it makes you think. So she's in this shack where the trampoline park is, right? With the gun that was loaded. Apparently, Beth said she didn't bring the gun. It was already here.
was there.
It must have been Saz's. So why did Saz have a loaded gun in the shack?
Yeah, why
Something
did
was
she?
going on. She was in some kind of trouble, or she knew of some trouble, and maybe she had to protect herself or to protect others. Like,
Yeah, that's true. I
So,
didn't think about that.
she was like, "Look, I'm here with, these sketches of trampolines and a loaded gun." So
Yeah,
why was she there with a
she
loaded
went
gun?
to try and find something, but she said that's all I found. These
Yeah.
trampoline sketches and a gun.
Yeah. So, so they take what they will with that information. They get back to Charlie's place, and who's there? The detective. So, you know, they're chatting with her and trying to figure out, showing her the
The murder
millions,
board.
the millions of
Yeah.
boards that they have. And he was like, it's just 3.
I know.
And so they were trying to like figure out who's doing this. They're like piecing things together. And what I love about the detective is that she's just cursing up a storm, and she's like, you guys have no fucking clue what you're doing, blah 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 blah. It was just, her character is just amazing. Anyway, but so she's like, you know, trying to figure this out. Then comes in Oliver, who's been trying to figure out whose arm was that around his girl, right?
Yeah.
So eventually he runs in and he's like, I know who it is. It was Jack John, and he's this actor, and blah 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 blah. And the detective's like, Jack John, do you know who that is? And she's like, oh, he's the Olympic swimmer, and he's got like this amazing body. He's got big ass arms, big ass legs, big ass. Oliver's just like, okay, let's, enough of that. You know, he's just an average looking guy. Like, I do that every 2 times a week on my elliptical. I look like that. So that whole thing is just,
Yeah, he's like super jealous, you could tell. And
Mhm. And apparently this Jack Junk is very notorious with sleeping with co-stars.
yeah,
So this
he's
is
a
the
hoe. He's a
Oliver.
hoe.
he a hoe. He
He's
a
a
hoe.
hoe.
Yeah, hoe for show.
Yeah,
Oh, show.
for sure. Anyway, so Jack Fuckboy John is around. And so they've solved that kind of, you know, little riddle, although he's still trying to figure out what he's doing with his woman and blah blah blah, right? So while we're going through this, they're trying to figure, they're realizing that, you know, Mabel's like thinking about like her job description. So they're going through like these like job descriptions. You're a crime smith, like all sorts of like very odd things. Eventually they come to podcast producer, right? So you know, they kind of, she's like, oh, this is interesting, I'm a producer. So they eventually get back to the producers from the film, right? So they get back to them, and I just realized this. I don't know if this was mentioned, probably was mentioned before, but the producers are called the brothers producers, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's their
Yeah,
last
they
name.
mentioned it in another episode.
Yeah.
These are the brothers.
Oh
And they
yes, that's
The
their
brother
last name.
sisters.
Thank you.
brother
Yeah.
sister.
Anyway, those two are very wild and very strange,
Yeah.
as a lot of Hollywood producers are.
Yeah.
So at some point they, you know, they see them again. They're telling them, they're explaining to everyone on set what ideas they have now. And now they're thinking they want to do a photo shoot
They're doing a photo shoot, getting
of the film.
photos with the actual people, with Oliver, Charles, and Mabel, and also the actors that are playing them, and they have their stunt doubles there.
So it
Or
was supposed to be a nude photo shot.
there.
A nude photo shot. And they're like, the brothers producers
Their
are
sisters.
like the brother sisters are telling everybody, hey, you guys should be in this too. And they're like, well, we're not going to do this nude. And they're like, oh yeah, very good idea. We should just put you in the first season's outfits. So, you know, eventually later on, they all show up in these outfits.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, at some point we also see Howard, who's basically like a go-getter on the set.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like still around, sneaking around. It's a little strange. He's trying to figure out his place in this
Yeah.
world, right? So at some point, you know, during the gathering with all the actors, you know, Charlie comes in and he's like walking around trying to secretly record people.
He was taking pictures. Yeah, he was secretly trying to pretending he was on the phone and turn the camera on. And he's like, oh, yes. And going, and snapping.
This is interesting. This is interesting. And just at that point, Mabel's just like, I really hope that the camera is facing
the right way.
And he's like, oh, so
of course it wasn't.
He was recording his nose the entire time. Very typical. So he's going around trying to figure out, poking around and figuring out which one of these people look the most sus,
Right,
right?
because now
Fish.
they're around a lot of the actors, the stand-ins, the producers, directors of this
True.
production, and you know, according to what Saz told Bev, that there was an issue with the movie or whatever, and Bev said something. I think someone on set or on part of the movie is the one that killed Saz. So now they're trying to see which one of them could possibly be Saz's killer, because they
Yeah.
really don't have any idea.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what the episode ended up being about, trying to find out who that's on the movie might have had motive to kill
Yeah.
Saz.
Yes.
So they're looking around and they see the writer of the movie.
Writer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Looking super
Marshall People.
Marshall.
Marshall People.
Marshall, looking super suspicious, right?
Yes.
He
So
was.
they're like, hey, you, we need to talk to you. Come back to the apartment. We have some questions to ask you.
Especially when they showed him putting on a fake beard and mustache.
Yeah,
Oh
in the
yeah.
beginning
We should
of
say that in the very beginning. The
the very beginning.
very beginning of the episode was a few minutes with him, like right before when he was writing the movie, and I guess he pitched it to Hollywood to see if they would make the movie. And he put on a fake beard, fake mustache. He was trying on different glasses because he didn't feel like he looked the part of a writer.
Right.
So he did that, and then he had the idea for the movie about this podcast because apparently he's a big fan of the podcast, and he wanted to make a movie about it. So he did it. He pitched it, and then Bev called him, and
Yeah.
they show all this in the beginning. Bev called him and said, "We're gonna make this into a movie," and so that was in the very beginning of the movie. So now when they go talk to him, well, they don't know this at first about the beard and stuff, but they kind of bring him in a little bit because they think he might be a suspect because, you know, he's part of the movie. They don't know. He gets fascinated by the murder board and by all
just their
their
process.
little observations and their little ideas of what might have happened, and he's like so into it, like, oh, I feel like I'm watching like part two of my movie. Like, this is great, and he loves it. He's all into it and everything. Then Mabel realizes, is that a fake beard?
Yeah.
And he's like, yes. They can't grow a facial hair, and he wanted to look the part.
Yeah, so he
Later.
starts talking about this imposter syndrome, right? So like, Mabel's kind of sharing like, yeah, I too have like imposter syndrome. He's like, really? Like, he's fascinated by them. So everything that they're saying, like, he's just intrigued. So he's going over the board with them, and he's asking questions to Charlie about the why and the who, and he's like, oh, no, don't worry about that. Don't worry about this.
Let's focus on this.
Like, just focus on this part. This is the only part I'm really sure of, which was the how, right? That was like, basically the timeline of events.
Right.
So like, he was going over the timeline with them, and he's like, wait a minute, like, how did somebody in 12 minutes go from the West building, put a body in
shoot from the West building,
in an incinerator,
come back,
run down, go to the other.
Well, no. Yeah. How did somebody go to the West building, shoot out of the window in the West building, come all the way to their building, come inside, clean up, take the body out, and put him in an incinerator in 12 minutes? Like, that's impossible. And on top of that, the person had to be like really strong to be able to pick up Saz and take them.
Do all of that. I mean, it's a dead body, right? So it's just funny how, like, so we start talking about this, and Charlie like is like, well, it's simple. This is how it goes. So we go into his world of him like walking around being the murderer. and he's walking around in New York City in a white tux, trying to, go over the order of events. And he's like, it's simple. It's how this happens. And he
I like
pictures
when he's walking in the
himself-
street and everybody's going,
everybody knows him.
It's Brazos. And he's just like,
He's just like, and by the way, everybody's drinking martinis on the New York City.
on the street.
And he's wearing this white tux, looking super handsome, not a splash of blood on him.
I
Like,
know.
okay. So he's going through all of that, and then Oliver says, wait. This is how it should have gone. So, he kind of like tells his side of the story, his
Well,
side
he
of
wants
the
to
story.
reenact it. He's like, I can
Wants to-
reenact it. And
Right.
they're like,
So he tries. He's like, it's easy. You could do it in 12 minutes. So, we see him like,
Right.
also reenacting. He's like wearing this.
it's like a tracksuit. Like,
It's like a tennis outfit.
yeah.
And he runs out into the New York City streets, similar to Charlie, trying to tell this story. And he's like cursing out this woman who's like got her kids on
He's
one
on
of
a
those
leash.
walking
The leash.
the
leash.
ropes or whatever
They're
they're called, but
leashes.
he calls it a leash.
They are
And-
leashes.
They are.
And then he's like, that should be illegal, whatever. So he's like yelling at everybody, and he's in this outfit, and then he bumps into John McEnroe. John McEnroe, who's a very famous tennis player and known for his angry temperament, right?
And wasn't he the voiceover in season 1?
Yes, I think he was, wasn't he?
I think so.
I think he
No,
was.
it was.
I thought he was.
Was it? Was
Uh-oh,
it?
we have to go back to this then.
I feel like he was
Fact check.
he was part of this show in the beginning, and that's why he was there.
We'll
Maybe
come
I'm thinking of something else.
Well,
He was the voiceover in Ever Have I Never Have I Ever. Never know that.
oh yes. Oh
Oh,
yes. Thank you. I think we're
That's
mixing
true.
up our shows.
Mixing up
Maybe
shows.
we're
here.
mixing up the shows.
Anyway, but so John McEnroe,
Sorry.
more power to him. He used to be a real jerk, and now he's bringing it into shows and movies as a joke, right? So at this point, Oliver runs back into the apartment, and he's like, "See, I did it." And then he's like, "So how long did I take?" And Mabel's just like 38 minutes. So clearly, he didn't have the energy or capacity.
No, this was all part of the whole story with Loretta's co-star, right? He was trying to prove that he was just
he's
as
super strong
and powerful
Yeah.
and fast.
and
and
he's
like this.
mentioned that he's been a pallbearer many times.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
And when he asked Glenn, don't you think that, don't you think that I'm strong? And Glenn's just like, oh yeah, you're a Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So funny. Anyway, so at this point, right, like what happens after that? So then we get to we
Well,
get back
so
to the
Mabel,
apartment, and now like they're going over more of the details.
well, Mabel's looking at all the pictures that Charles
Right.
took of the quick snaps that he was taking of everybody in the on the set where they were doing the photo shoot, excuse me, for the movie. And she comes across a picture of a footprint. She goes back and it matches the footprint that they found on the windowsill in Dudanov's apartment where the shot came from.
Yes.
So they said, so there's somebody upstairs right now must be the killer, because look, the shoe prints match. So whoever's shoe this goes to,
They're in the production office.
right? So they're the ones that were in Dudanov's apartment on the windowsill. So they must have shot. So they go back up there to try and figure out who it was. While they're up there, they have all this like sticky, what is it called? Tacky tape or
Oh, yeah.
tacky mat or sticky
tacky
mat.
tacky mat.
Yeah. It was all over the floor for some reason, and apparently it's some Eva Longoria product that she sells. She sells a lot of sticky stuffs like boot tape and all this kind of other stuff. And so Mabel has an idea. We put it down and watch people walking over it, they'll leave a footprint and we can see if one of the prints match
Yeah.
the prints that we have in the picture and from the windowsill or whatever. So they saw a couple of them, didn't. After a while, there was a bunch of footprints and she notices one of them was the same one. She's looking around. And in the meantime, and while this is going on, Charles comes up to her and says, I think we're going about this all wrong. About the, the shooter shooting from the other building, coming all the way to our building, cleaning up, taking the body, carrying the body to the incinerator, all the stuff. I think it might have been two killers.
Yeah.
Two people, right? One person who actually did the shot from the West building, and one person that was already in the building and came in, cleaned up, and took the body out.
Yeah.
So as he's telling Mabel this, Mabel sees that footprint on the sticky mat that's on the floor, and she's looking around, and then somebody's like kneeling down, and their shoe,
The soul.
the bottom of their shoe is sticking up, so you can see it as they're underneath on the floor. And she looks, and who is it? It's one of the brother sisters. So
then they're trying to figure out, they're deducing that if it had to be two accomplices, a killer and an accomplice, then it has to be the brother sisters, because one of them, they saw the footprint that matched
that was the first one.
shoe, and then they saw the other brother sister, and she was directing the photo shoot. And then she said, "Oh, that person needs to be moved over," and she literally goes over, picks him up, picks the person up, moves over. So it's like
nothing.
So she's strong enough to pick up a body.
Yep.
Did they come to this conclusion that it's possible that it's them? And they were my suspects last week, if you remember. So when I saw that, I was like, oh. Although, again, it may not be them.
It's still right.
They're suspects. They're official suspects now.
Yeah.
Official suspects. But why would they do it?
Right. Well, that's the thing. That's what we have to find out the motive. It's like you said, it's still possible that this is just a coincidence and they did not do it. But it's very suspicious. After they see this and they have this like epiphany that, oh man, it could possibly be them, shot rings out. Lights go off.
That's the end.
Episode ends.
The end. So
what does that mean? Are we gonna come back next week with another dead body?
Yeah, I mean, who knows?
Who knows?
I can't wait now. Oh my God.
yeah,
That's
very
crazy.
good episode.
So do you guys have new suspects for this week?
Well, obviously the brother sisters, because that's like pretty convincing evidence.
Yeah.
But also Marshall, the writer. Because
Yeah.
Agree.
although
he still seems suspicious.
he
definitely.
does definitely still seem suspicious. He has I kind of get the you want to look like a writer and you have the fake thing, but also like, what are you trying to hide? Also,
Yeah.
like, it's very strange.
Definitely.
And he's really, really into the podcast and
everything, the process,
and then everything about the podcast.
Yeah.
So what's to stop him? That could have been a motive. I killed Saz to have another murder in the building.
Yeah.
So I can create this.
Absolutely.
This movie.
Totally agree.
And I can meet my idols the people that I love to listen to and watch and whatever, and be a part of their world.
Totally
And
agree.
also remember that he mentioned, is this a part 2?
He said
it feels like I'm looking at the sequel to my movie.
Yeah. While they were doing all this stuff with the murder.
It sounds like he's really like,
he's on my list.
He's definitely on the list.
I think he's on the list. I think he's definitely on my list. I feel like the whole thing with the brothers sisters is really just trying to set us off course.
Yeah, that's
Because
Probably.
they're
that's the
so
Probably.
weird. They're so weird that it would be so obvious that it would be them. I feel like it's not. I
It
feel like
might not
it's
be,
not.
It
but
might not
it
be.
could be if it is two people, it could just be one of them and someone else. Like,
True.
Right.
I mean, it's
True.
just we just don't know yet. But they're definitely on the list.
Dun dun dun.
It could also be Bev Mellon.
It
Yeah,
could.
I
Yeah,
mean,
she's playing very innocent and like,
Yeah.
oh well, she got caught in that trampoline park or whatever.
Yeah,
And
she could have been trying to get rid of evidence,
yeah, we don't know really.
absolutely.
to connect her with Saz.
Yeah.
Um, and she was talking about how she had like missing opportunities for things, and she didn't want anything to go wrong with this production and all this stuff.
Right.
So maybe she was trying to hide some stuff to, you know, so it possibly be her
It could
too.
be.
It could be. So
Sure.
So, but we still seem to have a good amount of episodes left. So
Yeah.
it still could be anyone at this point, guys. Not even the people that we have on our list.
No,
yes.
So
I feel like we're in the middle, I think, of the season. So, I
yeah,
mean, the next few episodes are gonna reveal a lot, I
I
think.
think so.
Yeah.
This is gonna be fun.
I think so. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
So yet again, only murders in the building. It's just another season and another episode of just hilarious lines, like a lot of mystery, and this is just
Yeah,
I just love the show. So
yeah. So
if you have a suspicious list, we'll call it that.
suspicious list.
Tell us in the comments what your suspicious list is, if you agree with us, if you have anything to add. We're always happy to hear what you have to say, and we just love to hear from you. So anyway, thank you, ladies. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Remember to hit subscribe right there somewhere.
Subscribe.
Yeah. The
Somewhere down
subscribe
here.
button. You can also listen to our podcast on wherever podcasts are available. For now, this is Angie, Sonia, and Sandra, Horror Flick Chicks. Peace, love, and horror.
Bye.
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 That's the end.